right, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions to the agenda? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, consent agenda. We have the minutes from the May 16th, 2019 regular city council meeting, as well as the financial reports, city accounts payable from June, the financial statements from May 2019, and the liquor store profit and loss from May 2019. Does anybody have any questions on those?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Public comment, this time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. Nobody from the public. Departmental reports, police chief is not here. The report is in the packet. Let me get to it and see if there's anything we want to find out here. The arrest, I'll let him talk about maybe the next time. Bugs and Hugs went very well. The MS-150 bike ride, they had to change the route, which we'll talk a little bit about later, but sounds like that went off pretty well as well. We do have the 2 new part-timers that were approved a meeting or 2 ago. They're getting trained in. Hopefully we'll start covering some shifts here pretty soon. Other than that, doesn't look like there's anything else really to report. Public Works Superintendent.
Mr. Administrator, members of the council, busy month, very, very busy. Summer is obviously going and weather's turning nice and we're moving right along. So, water department distributed 4.6 million gallons of drinking water in the month of May. Had a lot of training this last month, actually. Scott and myself both went to Carleton last 2 weeks ago Wednesday and attended a hydrant school. And for as much as hydrant school sounds boring, there's actually a lot to learn. It's actually pretty neat. We learned a lot of things that I think we're going to be able to put into the community, into our water system. Tried to repair some of the leaking ones, the hard turning ones, hard operating ones, and some of the ones that just are shut off due to being out of service, which isn't very many. I attended a Minward meeting in St. Cloud. As I sit on that board, that was an experience. It was a meeting. Everyone knows I hate meetings, so it is what it is. The following week, last week, Scott was in 2 harbors at a line locating training, and basically for locating utilities, water, sewer, that kind of thing. Scott reported back to me, said that was a very knowledgeable training. I learned a lot of things. That was a really good one to go to. Right now, well number 1 is out for service. It should be back installed next week. We do have a spare in place in well number 1 as well, so the pump is out getting work on, and going from there. Sewer department collected 22 million gallons of wastewater in the month of May. Chemical feed treatment at the wastewater facility is done. That took place last week. We started our June discharge today. Everything is looking good as far as meeting our limits and going from there. Street department, street sweeping is completed. Some follow-up was done on that on a couple areas that were missed, and that got looked at and got done. Pothole filling done on a monthly basis as always. FEMA storm sewer repairs, you see them all over the town. We're making a mess, but they should be done the end of next week with all the blacktop and concrete put back. And then just continue going at the cemeteries every week. So that's working out really well. It's another added task definitely, but it's really coming around. That looks really good.
Are any of these projects that are going now going to eliminate I&I runs?
No, it's all storm sewer.
It's all storm sewer.
Yep, it's all FEMA reimbursement stuff. I wish it did,
Yeah.
but it's not. So.
Thank you.
Before I ask a question, there's a there's a sewer project that we've talked about, that we could do that would eliminate quite a bit of I&I, if we were interested in doing something like that.
A lot to talk about.
Do you, do you want to talk a little bit about the hydrant training, about repairing them rather than replacing them? Just to
Yeah.
kind of give an idea.
So, there's basically two different stages in a hydrant, when repairing. You can either go all brand new, which costs a lot of money, or there are internal parts of them that are rebuildable. They're only rebuildable down to about the 60s, which pretty much outdates half of our hydrants. But for that part that it does qualify for and that it will work, there is some ideas that there's some things we learn, there's some ideas we have, and there's a few things we're actually gonna try on a couple hydrants that are more remote areas out in the woods. People don't even know they're there. I didn't know they were there until after I actually took over as superintendent. So yeah, there's a few things as far as parts. There's some tools we'll have to buy, nothing crazy, no huge ticket items. I'm not gonna lie though, right now with our workload, there's nothing I want you to get into, but this fall, possibly next spring, it'd be something I'd like to look into. Repair kits or something like $400 a hydrant instead of 10,000 to dig up and replace. So just one or two is a huge savings. And we have, I think, 137 hydrants or something like that. So I mean, just two at $800 is better than two at 20 grand. So
Then you want to talk about the water break.
So yes, next week there will be some. We'll be making a mess up there. We have a water service leaking to a house that was not occupied all winter, and we found this in February. And the problem with digging a water break in February in a state highway is that the state has some real rules and regulations as far as what they require to have the patch look like when it's done. Blacktop plants don't open up until May usually, so it's very hard to get blacktop, it's very hard to get patch, it's very hard to get patching material even to set up and cure. For example, the patch that's on the intersection of Folds and Grove, that was put in by us, and that was using our own product, which everyone's been over it, it's rough, it's not what it should be, nor does it meet MnDOT spec, and they require us to take that out and then put it in with hot mix, which meets their spec. So that one will be getting replaced. The thing I don't like about opening up a hole in a state highway is once I open it up or we open it up, we own it until it is passed by their inspectors and it's back accepted by them as the state. That's why gravel doesn't work so well, because there's so many cars, there's so much traffic, there's so much weight going down that road. We had one patch we took care of for 2 weeks with gravel, and we were out there, sometimes we were out there twice a day. And so it's not perfect. But anyway, going back to the leak we were talking about, there's a service leak it's on the city part of the service. And so that is from the main to the curb stop at the property line. We're, Monday, I believe, we're starting on that. We're actually going to relocate the service to the north side of the property, which there's water main back there and an easement, which keeps us more out of the blacktop and out of the 73 right away. The water main at that address is actually on our side of MnDOT's right away, which is 75 feet away. So technically, we would open cut Highway 73 and completely shut the traffic down, which no one wants to do. I don't want to do, and I know Tim really doesn't want to do. So we're going to relocate the service, and part of that is abandoning the old service at the main. So we do have to dig up in the blacktop. It's a lot smaller scale than crossing the highway and shutting everything down. We've done this before. It's kind of a headache, but we've done it, and we'll get through it. But we do get a lot of help with traffic control from MnDOT. It's really helpful. So does that answer what you're good? Perfect. That's all I got.
Great, thank you. Chief, do you want to take yours now?
Sure. Apologize for being late on the call. definitely tell it's summertime. It's just been an absolute zoo in town. Had a very lengthy investigation. Ended up doing several search warrants and were able to find stolen property that we recovered from 4 different burglaries in the area. Working with the sheriff's office to get those completed. We did arrest 2 individuals for possession of stolen property, and also we found a felony amount of controlled substances as well. So, Mugs and Hugs, we did that Saturday, May 25th. Very well attended. I think we did 80 fingerprints of little kids, which that's a feat all in itself. But got a lot of positive remarks about the police department. People are just really appreciative of what all we do, and it's really nice to hear. So, MS Bike-a-thon went fine. A lot of traffic, a lot of people, but no incidents. Our 2 new part-timers are being trained in. Nice thing, they're already working police officers, have experience, and the main thing is just learning our computer system, which isn't real user-friendly, and just learning the area, but they're both doing very well. So, that's really what all we have. Just very busy with various investigations and just the day-to-day activity. A couple lawns in town that grass is getting quite high. They have been notified. Hopefully it'll be resolved rather quickly.
Shop.
The old school and the old Mason building. Just got off the phone with the owner of the old Mason buildings that we got tonight.
I talked to a couple of schools.
School was done, I believe.
Should have been.
The old school, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't yesterday, I don't think. Yesterday morning.
Yeah, I saw somebody out there.
Okay. That's been long. Yeah. No, but if people do notice a blight situation, just give us a call to the police department and we'll go through our protocol.
What about the old Amish house up there next to the school?
Yeah, that's been a problem with every year. I'll send out a letter to them as well.
Okay. And on those burglaries, were those burglaries in the city of Moose Lake?
They were not, 3 were in Barnum and Atkinson, and was on the county line road.
Okay.
But the property was in a garage in the city.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Down to the technology library report. As far as technology goes, we are working on getting the campground set up on our network with a computer and a phone. That's hit a couple delays, but I believe they're going back out there within a week. Next Friday, I think they're going out there to finish setting up, getting the computer and the phone set up. We also looked at putting Wi-Fi in for all of the users of the campground. I think the initial assessment came in at about $10,000 for that. Plus we would need to put up new poles and trench fiber into the poles. And quite frankly, that got a little expensive in a hurry. My suggestion would be, I still would like to expand the campground into what is that baseball field down there, move the baseball field to the new school, even though the referendum passed, or I'm sorry, even though the referendum failed. I would still like to work on moving that baseball field up there and expanding the campground. And if we did that, we could tie a Wi-Fi project into the same revenue bond for expanding the campground. So I don't know that we're going to continue looking at that one right now. That's a little expensive. The computers that we were purchasing this year have all been purchased. We'll be doing one more round January 1st of 2020. All of our computers will be on Windows 10, which is required as Windows 7 will no longer be supported. So that went well. We are also doing a full kind of assessment and layout of power and lights system as well as ours. Ours is a little bit easier, but we ran into kind of some issues with maybe not knowing where everything is, what equipment was everywhere. And now with CW, we'll go through a full layout of everyone's system so that we'll know who's getting billed for what and where everything is, and it'll be a little bit easier. And then finally, I think the Public Works garage or the pole was struck by lightning, so there's some issues with the SCADA system and SCADA computer, which Phil is our new IT guy. He's getting that resolved. As far as the library goes, we have a couple minutes in the packet from a few meetings, and then there's one item that we'll talk about later. I don't know if you want to talk about any of the programs. Have you talked to the city council at all yet?
Yep.
Okay, why don't we just have her come up and introduce herself then? Shelby is the new library director, and we can have her give a little rundown of who she is.
Hi, I'm Shelby. I'm the new library director. I have been in this position almost 4 months now, I think. Just since I've been here, I've kind of gotten the lay of the land a little bit. We've tried to incorporate some new programs. I've started some new social media with the library, trying to get more people in the library and using it. All of our programs so far have gone pretty well. And yeah, that's all I got, I think. I didn't prep anything, so.
Any hard-hitting questions from the council?
All right.
All right. Going on to the next one is the city engineer. At our last meeting, most of the time was spent on the special assessment policy that's in the packet. We kind of went line by line. There's quite a few things that our state statute or our standards and other things that we went line by line, and my recommendations are in the policy itself, which we can talk about later on. Other than that, a lot of what's going on right now is the water model project. Phil and the city engineers are trying to figure out whether or not we need some of the pressure reducing valves that we have, and whether or not we can pump from the wells to the water tower without the booster station that we have. We haven't done the booster station yet, as we have a water break, so we kind of want to figure some of that stuff out. But once we have that done, we'll be able to size pumps a little bit better, and be able to figure out some of the costs for the two new pumps and wells. So once that's done, I think we'll be able to put together the estimate and move forward a little bit quicker on the new well project. Any questions from the engineers report? Chamber of Commerce update.
Mr. Administrator and City Council members, thanks for having me. It's been a couple of months since I've been here, and I think I'll just bring you up to date from my last visit here. Some of it might be repeat, but we have a lot of change at the chamber here this summer. I hope you all are aware that Dusty is no longer our executive director. He moved on to bigger and better things, and we wish him a lot of luck. And we did go through the hiring process, and we hired a gal by the name of Allison Jones. The unfortunate thing is she's not able to start until August, and she is the right person for the job. That's what we wanted. We didn't want the person that could start immediately. We just want the right person. So we're in a little bit of flux this summer. If you call or stop into the chamber office, you will likely be greeted by Nikki Goodnature, Kamel Parker, or Cassie Zimmer. And that's our plan throughout the summer, and it's going fairly well to this point. I would ask anybody if there's concerns or questions and you're not able to reach somebody, go ahead and give me a call. But August 20th, I believe, is when Allison will be officially starting. She's pretty dynamic. She's the director of, or one of the directors of Camp Heartland. We're looking forward to her coming on board with us. We also have a new junior ambassador this year. Her name is Savannah Gamst. We're excited to have her come on board. So on Saturdays, Savannah will also be there greeting people. She's excited to help us out with that position. Moving on, we are coming into our extraordinarily busy time of the year. So we have a lot of activities coming up. 4th of July is in full swing. We will have a flyer being distributed shortly. We've started taking parade entries. We suspect it will be a very good parade again this year. Two things I want to highlight about the 4th of July. We have two businesses in town that are celebrating 100 years of being in business. We have First National Bank at Moose Lake and the Lake Theater. So the Chamber is hoping to highlight them a little bit. The theater has offered they'll be doing a free movie during the 4th of July this year. Sometime in the afternoon, we're thinking 1 or 2 o'clock, we're not sure. So if you're able to, come and see E.T. So on the big screen, not a DVD, it's the actual movie. And I'm kind of excited about that myself. So Agate Days is coming up, July 13th and 14th. Planning for that is going extraordinarily well. As usual, we've got a fantastic committee that runs that. July 13th and 14th down at the Riverside Arena. Last year was our first year having that at the Riverside Arena. There's a few kinks we believe we have worked out, but we hope that it will go fairly smooth. We're going to follow that up July 20th with the triathlon. Again, a few minor changes that happen year to year, but that event continues to grow. It's actually a pretty significant event for the area. It brings a lot of people into town, a lot of revenue to the businesses. So, and we'll round out the summer really with our golf event on August 2nd. So we are extraordinarily busy. The only thing that I ask is a little leniency this summer because of our change of executive director. Any questions?
Not a question. I think the communication from the chamber has continued or been better. I think that there hasn't been a drop off as far as the information coming out of the chamber, which I think is great and shows how well the board and all the volunteers up there are doing. So I appreciate that.
A fantastic team of people that are willing to help. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to previously discussed business, the 2018 flood. The only thing that I wanted to add to what Phil said about all of the catch basins is I can't stress enough the capital improvement project plan that we've been working on. We really need to get moving along with starting to do some road projects. Every single hole that was dug to replace a catch basin structure, every single time we had to dig further because the pipes that are underground are awful. Every single hole that we dug, an additional pipe or 2 additional pipes, another storm structure. It just kind of built and built and built as we started digging. So the further that we can get along with our CIP and our assessment policy, the better off we will certainly be. So we will hopefully be closing out the FEMA projects probably within a month. They've already given us the money for it, so now we just need to report on the projects, and hopefully that will go smoothly. Any questions? All right, moving on to new business 6A, DMV reimbursement grant. This was one of the things that was passed this year through the state legislature, was reimbursing registrars for whether it be overtime or additional staffing costs. So on page 36 is a letter from the state stating that our office will receive $37,398.83, which is our portion of the formula that they put together. Governor Walz included an appropriation for $13 million for registrar reimbursement is kind of the headline of this one. There's a part to this that I'm not sure if they are asking for minutes from our meeting accepting the grant, but if they are, I would just ask that we make a motion to accept the reimbursement grant for the deputy registrar office.
That motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. So that will certainly help out the funds for the DMV office, and we look forward to that. So 6B, the Carlton Tax and Utility Rate Study. I just wanted to include this information. This is not a study that we did. It's a study that Carlton needed to do for some state bonding that they are doing. So as a part of this, I highlighted where Moose Lake falls in. It takes a look at the city tax rate, the water rates, as well as the sewer bill rates, and then the LGA plus taxes per capita. What I'm looking to point out is I think that a lot of us and a lot of people hear about how high taxes are in the city of Moose Lake. As a part of the budget, every single year I put in there where our city taxes fall in compared to other communities surrounding us, other communities that are similar to our size. When we add in the county, when we add in the school, fire district, hospital, all of that, that's where it seems our taxes kind of build up a little bit higher than we would all like. As far as the city's portion of it, what I present to you kind of matches this, which is the city tax rate is actually either low or pretty average for communities our size. Our water rates are right about average, and our sewer rates are actually low compared to other communities. And then looking at LGA plus taxes per capita, we are quite low. So I think that we are doing a pretty good job. It's just informational, but I did want to point out that I do think that we are right around where we want to be.
Is there a way to get this information out to the public, so they're aware of this, I hear the same thing that you hear, and I think that some of that problem is just that the people don't have the proper information to look at.
I mean, outside of just paying to put it in the paper, it's certainly a part of the budget presentation that we put together for the council. Generally, I give the presentation twice at city council meetings, so it's on TV twice. I don't know how many people are tuning into it, but I mean, it's already put together. It's readily available. I don't know where you'd like it. I mean, we could maybe put it on Facebook or something like that.
Something like that, a way to get the information out to the people.
Sure.
The more people are aware, the less they'll complain about that issue.
Well, I don't know that they need to stop complaining. I think one of the issues with taxes is generally you're thinking of your property taxes as being the city. And there's a whole lot of other things that go into your property taxes other than the city's tax rate. Your home value, the county, the school, the fire district, the hospital. I mean, there's a few things that residents in this area pay for that residents in other areas do not pay for. I mean, we're part of a hospital district and a fire district, which has an additional expense, certainly, an additional benefit as well. But just, it would be good information to get out, you're right. 6C, Rokon paving estimate. On page 43 in your packet is an estimate for a 741-foot long by 8 feet patch on the bike trail. There's a map on page 44 that kind of lays it out. So between the North Road and Foles Boulevard is kind of that bypass trail. The city owns the paved section, not the gravel part to it. The city put in that paved section what I believe is for rollerbladers and bikers and things like that. When you come down the Munger Trail stops and starts, but there's a gap, and this is kind of a way to bypass all of that and hop back on the Munger Trail. There's a long stretch, or a couple long stretches. It's not 741 continuous feet, but a total of 741 feet that needs to be replaced. That's 8 feet wide. There's a couple problems. One, I have a hard time suggesting to anybody that we pay $15,000 for a trail when I would certainly say that $15,000 would be more wisely spent on roads and utility improvement that's used by a considerably larger number of people. The second issue that I have is this area is very flat, and the ditch that is supposed to take water away is maintained by the county. There is really no ditch. All of the gravel has kind of washed into the ditch, which backs all the water up. All that water on the paved section of that trail eats away at the pavement, and we're just gonna have this problem again and again and again and again. So I don't know what what you all would like to do with it. I'm not really suggesting anything now, other than you be aware that there's a broken pavement section of the trail. The estimate is about $15,000, and we need to kind of figure out where we want to go from there.
And it's due from water erosion, mostly from the...
Well, all of it's due to water erosion. If you go on this, the trail is actually much, much longer. What did we think, it was 20 years old or something like that? Didn't Ted say that, were you not there?
I wasn't there.
I think Ted was talking about that we did this like 15 or 20 years ago. The pavement in every other section is perfect. When you get to here, you can see a lake, and that's where the pavement is broke up.
Yeah, that's all that schist ground under hard rock out there too.
Well, it's all, and then on top of it, I don't know if it was all blasted into the rock or what, but
Probably.
it's really high, and then the trail is like cut into it with a waterfall in it. I mean, that thing was flowing.
It would be hard to get the water that's in there out of there with that rock. There's no simple, easy way to drain that out of there.
My very unpopular opinion on this would be, I think we should just take the pavement out. That way, if it's gravel, we can quickly reshape it, put the gravel back where it needs to be. You could take a land level down it and fix this thing in a matter of minutes. The problem that we're going to have is, according to groups like the MS-150, their bikes cannot go down gravel, apparently. I didn't know that was a thing. My bike goes over gravel.
It'd be nice to talk to the county engineer and see if they have any, that they could look at that section since it is their.
I think their super preference would be to sell it to us for $1.
I'm sure it would.
As they asked me 4 times in a matter of a half-hour-long meeting, but, yeah.
There's the ATV trail that runs alongside of it
Yes,
too.
yeah.
And I'm sure that gets eaten away a little bit.
You know, I
ATVs.
would agree, except for the fact that everywhere else on the trail where water can go down a ditch, everywhere else the trail is perfect.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Just put in a $50,000 ditch for the county can.
Something to think about. There doesn't need to be a decision necessarily right now. I can certainly reach out to the county engineers. I think a conversation might have come up with the police chief and some others that we thought that maybe they should do some additional ditching as well. So, yeah, I think we can reach out to the county and maybe suggest that some additional maintenance or time be spent on the trail. That unfortunately does not fix the pavement, so.
I think part of the reason it washed out is because the county didn't maintain the gravel portion also.
I would agree.
It's always been wet. You know, I can remember as a kid, water flowed out there all the time.
Yeah, it
Walk
was.
down the tracks, stuff in the water, you come right out of the ground.
Yep, I know where it is.
I'm sure that's a long time ago. I thought that
Okay,
before it came started.
any other questions or comments on that one? Otherwise, we'll move on. 6D, the Rainbow Run route. You can see an email that includes the route that this Rainbow Run would like to take. I think they said they wanted to do it on National Night Out, is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so on August 6th, 2019, at about 4:10, they would like to do the Rainbow Run. Is everybody familiar with what that is? Okay. This is the route they'd like to take. Do you have any issues with it, Chief? they're not asking for anything really from us. They don't need the public works crew doing anything, as far as I know. So it seems like a good additional event to tie in. Any concerns? Okay, I will pass that along. 6E and 6F are the same thing. These are resolutions that we need to pass for the new part-time police officers to include them into public employees, police and fire plan. I would recommend that you pass both of these.
I recommend we go ahead with that. And then join our police force.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Can we do another one just for the second one as well?
Same thing.
All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. 6G is a memorandum of understanding. This would, in effect, this would create an administrative group of employees. This administrative group would, for this purpose, would only include the police chief and myself. In order to basically, so in our personnel policies, when somebody retires from the city, there's a section where 25% of their sick leave is paid to them upon retirement. What this states is that instead of taking that 25% as just a check, this would put it into a healthcare savings plan. The benefit is that it's not taxed when it goes in there. The flip side is that you can only use it for medical expenses then. So you can pay for like your premium or something along those lines. How this came to be is basically you cannot have a single person enter into this. You need to have a group. Otherwise, there's a chance that you're going to abuse it or something like that. So if there's two of us, we're not going to abuse it. If there's one of us, there's a high likelihood that we're going to abuse this, according to them. So what I'm asking is that we pass this memorandum of understanding. The chief and I would sign this. And there is no cost difference. There's really no difference whatsoever other than the check would go to the healthcare savings plan people upon retirement, other than the check would be made out to Chief Grout.
Question?
Yes.
What happens to the other 75%?
It is waived, that
It goes
goes away.
away.
Why?
Because we do not cap sick leave, and I would say that most employers give you your vacation upon termination, whether voluntarily or not, retirement, all those things. Sick leave is not generally, unless it's PTO, in which case you get all of it.
Our sick leave is capped at 960 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's what I'm saying, is if you accrue 960 hours and you're gonna get 25% of that, what's the benefit of it? I understand that.
What's the benefit of what?
Of not burning down the 960, if you're gonna lose, if you're only gonna get 25%, that's what I'm understanding, is that you're only gonna get 25% of the 960, or are you gonna get paid cash the rest of it?
No, so you get, according to our personnel policies, you get 25% of what is in that balance. That happens today already.
Okay.
If you retire, you get 25%.
You're just changing it to MSRS.
Correct. That's the only difference.
And that could be something that we look at if we ever update our personnel policy.
Yeah, so the only reason that we're doing it with these this way rather than all employees is I haven't talked to all employees and I cannot make it optional. So if we're going to change it so that everybody could do this, everybody has to have it go to this. It cannot be,
There's not a choice
Yeah.
when you retire. If you need cash, you have to put it towards this.
so like, you guys have MSRS for deferred comp, right? For retirement?
Yeah.
That is completely optional, can be handled by the employee. It can be your choice whether you want to do it, not do it. There's all these things that are just optional, but there's a cap to how much can be put in there per year because it's tax deferred. This one there is no cap, and that's where I think they come up with a lot of the rules. So somebody could put $100,000 in here and not have it taxed, and then they can use it for medical expenses, and again, it's not taxed. So there is the possibility that somebody could kind of try to get around the system. We don't really offer any way for somebody to scam the system. So I would say that this just makes.
No, my only question was why 25%? So I wasn't up on that number. And ours is 100%, so.
Is it really?
960, yeah.
Upon retirement? I'm not suggesting that.
If I could I know something?
Sure.
When I was hired, it was 100%. And sometime, a couple of city administrators are going to change, unbeknownst to me until recently.
I think the last time
I
it
don't
was
know when the
updated
last time it was
like
updated.
2011 or 2012, so
Yeah.
you were in 2010 or
Yeah.
2009.
I'm still not suggesting that. Can we, is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. 6H is a notice of public hearing. I gotta find it. Here we go. Notice of public hearing for a street and utility capital improvement plan. This is the same capital improvement plan we've been talking about the last few months. The only thing that I am requesting is that you pass a motion to have a notice of public hearing, and we invite the public to speak on the capital improvement plan in July.
All motion that we have a public hearing on the capital improvements plan.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. That will be at 4:15 on Wednesday, July 17th, which will be the regular city council meeting. We will have a public hearing on the street and utility capital improvement plan. From page 53 to to page 86 is the actual capital improvement plan. If anybody has any questions ahead of that, we'll put the notice on our Facebook page, and then also, so long, is there a limit to the size that you put on Facebook?
July 10th.
Is it July 10th?
That's the second one.
That's the second Wednesday?
At 4:15.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, what was your question?
Is there a size limit to how big like a PDF you can put on Facebook? We will try to put this on Facebook.
I
don't know
think
if
I
there's a
might be
size.
able to put it on our website and then put a link to our website on our
Okay.
Facebook page.
So we will.
I'm not sure.
We will try to get certainly the notice will be published in the paper and on Facebook and on the bulletin boards. We'll try to publish this plan so that people can review it as well. If anybody has any questions, certainly they can reach out prior to the meeting and let us know any questions or concerns.
So that meeting is gonna be July 10th.
July 10th, yep.
Send out the notice also on the utilities bill.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. I'll write that down. All right, the next one is 6K, or 6J, sorry, which is another notice of public hearing. This one would be for the special assessment policy. This one, we haven't reviewed the document fully at a city council meeting. We will do that in July. The entire assessment policy is in your packet. It has been emailed out as well. We'll do the same thing with that. We'll try to get it out to everybody and have it out for everyone to review. Any questions, please let me know. Same thing, the public hearing would be July 10th at 4:45 for that one. Is there a motion for holding a public hearing?
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 6L is a resignation letter from Nina Bergerson in the library. She has been here for 19 years, I believe. 17 of them, as she states, as the assistant director. She's been here for a long time. Certainly been a great asset for the library, and we are sorry to see her go. There'd be a motion to accept her resignation.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then 6M is also a resignation letter from Chris Frenzen in the library. She is another part-time employee, and again, we will certainly be sad to see her go as well. Is there a motion to accept her resignation? She still resigns.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
I know we've talked, and other people have left about some type of letter of thank you or something that the city should send something like that. Just for their years of service, and that we greatly appreciate that. I mean, that's quite a long time to have been here. So we should probably do it. Thank you.
All right, opposed? All right, motion carries. 6N is the recommendation from the library board to hire a full-time library director. And let me just back up a little bit here. The library board has met a few times after the 2 part-time people resigned to decide how to move forward with the library, whether it be changing days and hours, part-time versus full-time library director, hiring 2 part-time clerks versus hiring 1 with the full-time library director. Their recommendation from this past library board meeting was to hire 1 library clerk and have the library director be full-time. There was, if anybody was interested, I can email it to you. There was basically a breakdown of the cost of several different options. Most all of them either broke even, or a little bit less currently, but all basically fell in line with what we need. This came up a few months ago when Steve was here. We were looking at hiring an additional part-time person in the DMV, and this was actually our initial recommendation was with the IT stuff being handled by CW, that we simply have a full-time library director and eliminate one of the part-time positions. The staff in the library at the time, their strong suggestion to the library board was that they have additional part-time staff instead of a full-time library director. With the resignation of a few part-time people, this kind of brought about the conversation again. And it is the recommendation from the library board that we hire Shelby to be full-time rather than part-time, and then hire 1 library clerk rather than 2. Does that make sense?
There would be no assistant director then?
Correct. We would also not have an assistant library director. All of those job duties would be a part of the library director. Is there anything else from that meeting that you want?
Well, there was the option 2 and then the option 5. The 2 was without benefits, and then 5 was with benefits. And I think we had gone with option 2.
No, so option 2 is with benefits with single rather than family.
Okay.
So it's just,
All right, I got you.
yeah, benefits are laid out in the personnel policy. So we would have to, no matter what, if the full-time person was hired, we would have to offer those benefits. I know.
So a few months ago, we didn't have enough money for Steve Devine Jelinski. And now we have money. So obviously, you said there's figures there. I'd just like to know what those figures are, because I think we're going to be bombasted with questions of why all of a sudden does the board now say that we have money? I guess I would like to know, and I think a lot of people would like to know, and which has nothing to do with Shelby or anything like that. It's just, how is it different with that one person not being there? What's the money difference? If someone could give just a brief breakdown so I can understand this.
Let me pull it up here. Thank you. Shelby, is there any way that you can email that to me?
Yeah, I actually have it right here, the physical.
Send me the minutes and that thing. Well, let me, while she's doing that, why don't I answer the first one? The first one is that previously we did not have enough money for Steve, which I would say that that's not quite how that went, but certainly that was a piece of it. So what we did was when the personnel committee met to discuss adding an additional person in the DMV, we recommended that we reduce the staffing cost in the library by the cost of that position. So basically, we would take the equivalent of a part-time person from the library and we would move those funds to the DMV. So our initial recommendation, again, with Steve was basically part-time library, part-time IT. We were taking the IT portion away, giving it to CW. Our recommendation was make Steve full-time in the library, eliminate one of the part-time positions in the library, and move those funds to the DMV. So by doing that, which is basically what the recommendation is now, by doing that, we would save enough money in the library to pay for that position in the DMV. The recommendation from the staff in the library then came back that their preference would be to have a part-time library, to continue to have a part-time library director and continue to have as many part-time staff in the library as possible, with eliminating whatever cost needed, which was basically the IT portion of that job, and moving that to the DMV, which the library board also recommended doing that. Either way, the cost is to cover the DMV position was what we were attempting to do. And either of those two options did that. Did you find it, Shelley?
Yeah, I sent it to you, and I've
Oh, you did? I'm
got
sorry.
the physical one here too, if you rather.
I'm just looking for a gross breakdown.
How about total, can I have the physical one?
Yeah.
So a total with all employees?
Yeah.
'Cause it's easier if we look at
Steve in that
all-
position compared to now, we're
Yeah.
going with the DMV now with Shelby with this recommendation.
Right, and we have it with Steve versus Shelby as well. So basically, she took a look at 5 different options. The first option is, what do we currently have right now? So with Shelby, Nina, Chris, Rosanna, Donna, total for per week was $1,743.43. If we were to have Shelby be full-time, plus one new person, so that eliminates the assistant library director. We hire one new person, and Shelby moves to full-time. The total cost would be, well, there's two things. I'll just do it with the library having the same schedule, is $1,656.04. So a slight cost savings, which comes from less staff, but also less the assistant library director. The scenario 3 is the keeping Shelby part-time, but with the addition of 2 new employees, 2 new clerk positions. The total cost to the city would be $1,417.44, with the majority of the cost savings coming from no longer having the assistant library director position, which obviously is a higher rate than just a regular clerk. Scenario 4 was what would have been, what we were looking at was Donna was the newest position at the time, eliminating that part-time position, but still having Steve here. The total cost would have been $2,199.13 per week. And now those are the 4 main ones there. So does that kind of make sense as far as the breakdown goes? This doesn't take a look at the cost that we had previously. If Steve was going to be full-time, if the assistant library director was there,
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the cost of the DMV position. No matter what we do, that cost savings is still built into however the library moves forward. So the funding, we're continuing to have the funding for the part-time position in the DMV. Now it's just a matter of, is there a full-time library director with 1 clerk, part-time library director with 2 clerks, 2 additional library clerks? Either way, that cost savings is still there. Does that
And
make
with
sense?
that 37K, bringing that into the fold, does that have anything to do with how that plus funds can be used that we just say?
I would say no. I would say that currently the DMV loses money.
Yeah.
It will continue to lose money, and there's nothing that I can really do about that. The second thing that I would say is we do not charge the DMV for utilities, for office space, we charge them for nothing. And we still lose money. The next thing I would say is they're looking at doing a few things in the office that would cost some money, but no matter what, they are losing money every single year, and I think that if we just left that money in the DMV, that would be wise.
Oh, yeah, I'm not asking.
No, I mean in the long term, because they're gonna run out of money eventually. You're talking 10 years down the road if we keep going the way that we're going. We would need to look at funding that from the general fund.
And my final question is, so what is your recommendation as the city administrator?
So I spoke with the personnel committee as well. The mayor and Chris, who could not be here, both of them agreed to go along with the library board. My thought is this: full-time employees are more, generally speaking, more invested into their positions and into the organizations that they work for. Anytime that you can have a part-time or a full-time person rather than a part-time person, generally speaking, you're getting a better employee, one that will stay longer, hopefully. My recommendation would be to go along with what the library board recommends as well.
At roughly a savings is stated, are we looking
The
at
current
2?
savings would be,
72 compared to like number 4.
I think the current savings is like $90 a week. I mean, technically,
What Steve would have been here.
oh, that, compared
You're
to
looking at
that,
that 2193,
that's
are we looking
what,
at number 2?
500 a week.
Almost 600, it's
Yeah.
almost 2,200,
Yeah,
roughly, so 7,200 a year.
yeah. But again, that's not just Steve's
No, I
salary,
understand.
so I don't want
We're
people
not
to
talking
think.
about that other position, that's.
Right.
All right, I just needed to know the math.
Yeah, so I mean, technically, yes, even going with the full-time person, even that still saves us money. I do want to point out that either way saves us the amount of money that we need to do what we're trying to do, so.
All the fees, right?
As far as I know,
And we're looking for a motion.
correct.
I'd make that motion to hire Shelby for a full-time position. Library director.
I would ask that we figure out when that would start. So Nina's last day is Thursday. I think you were gonna be here Friday, weren't you? There would not be, basically what we looked at in the library board meeting was multiplying her average, or not her average, her hourly rate times 2,080 hours, which is just a full-time employee. That's what the new salary would be. This would be a salaried position. So there's a couple things that I would ask that you include in the motion, which would be, one, the start date, which could either be Friday or Monday would be my recommendation.
I'm here on Friday anyway, or Monday, it doesn't really matter.
The second thing that I would ask is that this is a salaried position at, let's just say,
Hourly rate, at her hourly.
at her current hourly rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll amend my motion that Shelby will start full-time effective Friday. She'll be a salaried employee at her hourly rate, figured basically on 2,080 hours a year.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no further business under new business. I do not have any reports or correspondence. Under 8 is committee and board meeting minutes. You can see the minutes included in that. Any questions on any of the meeting minutes? No. Announcements, the regular Moose Lake City Council meeting, the next one will be Wednesday. Well, that's not right.
These are all
I didn't do any of these.
What did you do?
Oh, yes. All right, the next one will be Wednesday, July 10th, 2019 at 4 p.m. The Moose Lake Economic Development Authority will be Wednesday, July 10th, 2019 at 12 p.m. The Moose Lake Water and Light Commission regular meeting will be Tuesday, June, what was? 18th at 3 p.m. At the Water and Light offices. The next Moose Lake Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting will be July 8th at 11 a.m. at the Hillside Manor office. The next Moose Lake Area Fire District meeting will be Tuesday, July 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Emergency Response Center. The next Moose Lake Park Board meeting will be Monday, July 1st, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. at the City Council Town Board chambers. The next library board meeting will be July 12th, 2019 at 1 p.m. in the city conference room. Is that all right, Lois?
Yeah.
All right.
Did good.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments, questions? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.